Okay. So it's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 2, Verse 35. Let me share my screen. Okay. Oh, what did I do? Let me go back. Okay. Bhima Prabhu, can you see the verse?
I can. I have it here on my little iPad here. Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you want me to read the verse or you want to do it?
Yeah, go ahead, read it.
Okay. Sattvam na chedhatar idam nijam bhavet vigyanam agyana bheda marjanam guna prakashar anumiyate bhavan prakashate yasya chayena vagunaha. Bhima Prabhu, translation, you want to read?
Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vanchakalpatarupasya Kripasin Bhavanabhayo Vaishnave Namo Namaha. Thank you for all being here and putting up with my attempt at trying to just simply repeat and relate this verse. This is a wonderful, beautiful verse. It really answers a lot of important questions, two most importantly that we have asked very recently, and that is, how can I make Krishna's world my real world? We addressed that a couple of lectures ago. I believe it was the title, Krishna's world being our real world, not the world that we are currently ensconced in as far as our consciousness is concerned, all the fears and anxieties and the hullabaloo. And then also the second question being, how do I know that Krishna is speaking to me? How do I know what he wants? How do I know what Krishna and Radhe will be pleased with? How do I know, especially if I do not have Vani, Vapu of my Guru Maharaj on a consistent basis? How do I know day to day? So here we go. The translation here. O Lord, cause of all causes, if your transcendental body were not beyond the modes of material nature, one could not understand the difference between matter and transcendence. Only by your presence can one understand the transcendental nature of your Lordship, who are the controller of material nature. Your transcendental nature is very difficult to understand, this is important, unless one is influenced by the presence of your transcendental form. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Aboya Charan, fearless. It is said, I'm going to go ahead and just intermittently give class during or make comments or responses or even ask questions during the purport, because the purport is extensive, and it is. And I was talking to Adi, and I said, it's so long, I should basically read the purport and the class will be done. And he goes, well, we can skip around and take it. It's a feast. You're not going to eat everything on the smorgasbord. You can only take what you can take and digest what you can digest. So I read it and I saw that I wanted every little bit of it, but I will skip around a little bit. But I'll try to stay linear and organized. All right. It is said, and I'm going to skip some of the Sanskrit. I know you seeing me hobble. It is said, Trigunya Vashya Veda Nestakuno Bhavajuna. unless one is situated in transcendence. This is important. Let's remember this. Situated in transcendence, one cannot understand the transcendental nature of the Lord. As stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-29, Atape Deva Padma Bhuja Devaya Prashad Lesha Nirgrita Evahi. Sorry about that heater going off. Janati Tatvam Bhagavan Mahimo Nachanya Eko Picharam Vichinvan. Only by the mercy, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead can one understand him. This is Krishna's grace. Always remember that. We struggle to show our sincerity, but it is Krishna who is the permission giver when he removes the curtain of Mahamaya and shows himself to us, or reveals some knowledge of himself to us for our own benefit. Though, purport continued, those who are in the modes of material nature, although speculating for thousands of years, cannot understand him. If you've ever read philosophy, there's volumes and volumes and volumes. They speculate and speculate, and they disagree and they disagree, and they basically, it's a cycle. What is it called? A Sisyphean task. You roll the boulder up and it goes down the other hill. Purport continued, the Lord has innumerable forms. Radha Mitushu Kala Niyamena Tishtan. And unless these forms, such as Lord Ramachandra, Nrsimhadev, Krishna, and Balaram, were transcendental, how could they be worshipped by devotees since time immemorial? Bhaktya Mam Abhijanante Yavan Yashchasmi Tatvataha. Bhagavad Gita 18:15. That first Sanskrit word there, bhaktya, means do something. Faith in action is love. Devotees who awaken their transcendental nature in the presence of the Lord, this is very important, who follow the rules and regulations, utmost importance here, of devotional service. So here Prabhupada is saying, and he repeats over and over and over again, following the rules and regulations. Sometimes, especially after decades of being in Krishna consciousness, we get lax. Of course, we're not going to eat meat. We're not going to engage in illicit sex, except for procreation. We're not going to get intoxicated, and we're not going to gamble. Now, all of us usually sometimes say gamble. I don't know a devotee who does gamble, but every time we watch TV, every time we watch the news and get upset, every time we engage in prajalpa, we are gambling, because what happens here is that if we thought we were going to die in the next moment, or even in the next 7 days, we would not be engaged that way. So we are gambling by taking our consciousness off Krishna and putting it on this ephemeral dream. We are gambling that we will recover in time. So Krishna says, by engaging in these regulative principles, including the chanting of at least 16 rounds of the Maha Mantra, calling out to Krishna for 2 to 3 hours, you are proving to Krishna of your sincerity. After all, that 2.5 hours of engaging in chanting is literally 10% of your day. The Christians call it tithing. Give 10%. Krishna is not asking a lot. And I can only speak personally here, but some of us who are not so erudite, not so studied, not so naturally in the mode of goodness, therefore kind of like right near that transcendent stage, those who are immersed or ensconced, enmeshed inexorably in passion and ignorance, we can only depend upon the holy name. And as constant as we chant it, the more we get a chance that Krishna sees that we are sincere and he helps us. He enlightens us from within, and he protects us from without. He carries what we lack. He preserves what we have, how little it is, and he carries what we lack. Back to the purport. Only those who follow the rules and regulations can understand Lord Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, and all other incarnations who are not of this material world, but who come from the spiritual world for the benefit of the people in general. If one does not take to this process, one imagines or manufactures some form of God according to material qualities and can never awaken the real understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words Bhakyamam Abhijanante Yavanyaschasmi Tatvataha signify that unless one worships the Lord according to the regulated devotional principles, one cannot awaken the transcendental nature. Deity worship, even in the absence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, awakens the transcendental nature of the devotee, who thus becomes increasingly attached to the Lord's lotus feet. All I can say is that one does not need to, become a pujari. One can have deities at home. And as Christ said, one must become like unto a child to enter the kingdom of God. And that means that when we awaken our Chaito Darpana Marjanam, when we brush clear this dusty mirror and we see Krishna face to face in our heart, Anjana, with love, at least the intent of love, the desire, we awaken also our wonder and our innocence, and most importantly, our humility. And we understand that Krishna sees our heart when we are worshiping our deities, when we are offering food, when we are chanting in front of Tulsi Maharani. He sees that and he feels that, and he reciprocates in order to make us nishta, steady. We come into this movement, with a little bit of faith. Most of us, most of you are picking up from a past life, where we left off. And you engage bhajana kriya with steadiness. And then from that steadiness, you get ruchi, you get taste. And that is, you begin to see Krishna responding. And this is that first one of those questions that we had that is most important. How do we know what pleases Krishna? You will know because you will feel it. You will feel it. This isn't just a philosophical adventure. This isn't just an adventure of austerities, tapas. This is an adventure of, it's actually a romantic adventure, because in this world, when one is attracted, interested, intrigued by another person, romantic feelings are developed. And then we start to do things to want to be seen, to want that person to jump in our game. And so similarly, we engage in service to Krishna that outwardly may seem crazy, from a materialist point of view. Archana Vigraha, worshiping the form of Krishna, making garlands, serving food, even chanting his name. It all seems crazy, but these are actions of the heart. These are actions that outwardly actually have no ulterior motive, because it's not like we're going to get a paycheck. It's not like, it's not as if, and it shouldn't be, as if we're expecting people to praise us. But we know, why do the Matajis and hopefully the Prabhujis keep showing up day after day, making flower garlands and placing them on the deity? No one knows who put that flower garland there, and yet hundreds, if not thousands, sometimes take darshan of the deity. And what they see is, of course, the transcendental form of Krishna. But most importantly, at least for myself, when I first joined the movement and I saw Radha Vrindavan Chandra, the wonderful altar at New Vrindavan with Gopal Giridhari and Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda and Jagannath Baladev Subhadra and Lord Nrsingadev. My God, beautiful Lord Nrsingadev. And you see the garlands and you see the work and you see the offerings. What you're seeing there, it convinces you that all these people who you respect, who you have developed affection for, who are good people, you don't run into their bad qualities. Or if you do, if they have something, you excuse it because you just see all this good qualities. And you see their love in their worship of the Archa Vigraha. And you might not be seeing Krishna, but you see that bhakti, you see bhakti in action. And therefore you say, well, they're in love and they are making these offerings. Then, you might not have you might only have a drop because you're there, but you want that full flow. So you say, well, apparently they're doing it. They're giving themselves. So let me do it. And then this is that answer to that question. How do we know whether Krishna is pleased? Do it. Find some service that you resonate with. If you think flowers are beautiful, make them even more beautiful by offering them to Krishna. If you are a connoisseur of fine food, cook fine food for Krishna. Imagine, and we don't use the word imagine, but imagine Krishna partaking of this food. Envision Krishna partaking of this food. Ask him sincerely, and Krishna will respond. This is that transcendental nature that Krishna is talking about, that he offers up his presence, that he offers up. Prabhupada sometimes says, even in this lifetime, we can see Krishna even with these own eyes. But we know, and this is what makes us steady, Nishta, that we feel Krishna's presence because we're happy. Prabhupada said the sign of a pure devotee, or any devotee for any matter, is that he is jolly, he is happy. I remember learning about some of the rasas as a bhakta and living on the farm, and for like 6 months, and then the Sankirtan devotees came home, the ones who traveled throughout the United States and lived in a van, 3 of them in a van, and traveling, and they were of another nature. Even though the farm devotees were hard, oh my God, were they hardworking and austere. They worked as hard as the oxen that were pulling the plows, and that worked as hard as the construction equipment shaping New Vrindavan. But when the Sankirtan devotees came home, it was another ras. It was Hasya Ras, because these devotees always had to stay on this transcendental level in warfare, because they were out there, they were in the malls, they were at these events, people were drinking, people were eating. Sometimes women were naked. You go to races and stuff like that, and it's just like, it was just outrageous. And yet they went and they rescued Lakshmi Devi and engaged all these people, thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of people engaged in Krishna's service. And that money went into our pockets, round wads of cash, Lakshmi Devi. And we just sent it in, and New Vrindavan was built. And that was that transcendental. There was no other way to explain it. All of us, anybody who has ever been engaged in any type of service whatsoever, the intensity of your service will reveal the intensity of Krishna's presence in your life. The more intense you get, the more Krishna gets intense with you. When you approach the absolute, absolutely, get ready to handle absolute surrender. Because when that fire is increased, Krishna wants more and more. He's not just the butter thief. He's a thief. and he will take away all the last of your attachments. You might not even know the things you're attached to, but he will take them away. And the only way to drive through that transcendentally is to engage in another form of worship, which is the most important form of deity worship, which is chanting Krishna's names, japa. Krishna says of all the sacrifices that we perform, the chanting of the holy name is the most important. And he says, I am that japa. I don't know the Sanskrit. It's in chapter 8, I believe. Why does this repetition of the holy name, why does this bring us to a transcendental stage where our doubts are assuaged and our questions are answered and and we become empowered to feel and see Krishna everywhere, in the sense that we hear him speaking through a devotee's instructions. We hear him speaking through non-devotees' questions, or innocent people's questions, because you are showing Krishna that you are sincere with the most important time of your day, when you wake up and you chant, and you give that time intimately over to Krishna. It's just you and Krishna and Radharani. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama. This is the time that you're intimately spending with Krishna. And you are also, as Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said, you are also beating your mind into submission. Bhaktisiddhanta says, I beat my mind into submission with a broom handle every morning. 1,000 times I beat it. And at night I beat it again with a shoe. So this is very important. Doubts, misgivings, regrets, and most importantly, fear of the material world only comes from the mind. And the best way to subdue the mind is to chant Hare Krishna. This is the reins. This is when you chant Hare Krishna, you are allowing Krishna on your chariot. I have horses, and by nature, they want to go this way and that way. Even a slight breeze will get under their skin. They can feel a small fly, just like our mind can. All of a sudden, we become diverted by the smallest of things, away from concentration on Krishna's presence. We lose that transcendental platform because we become diverted by that lesser nature, by that material energy, by the illusion, by Maya Devi herself. And the only way, of course, like Haridas Thakur, to keep us from being diverted is by Kirtan Sada Hari, constantly chanting. Some of us, and I know I did, so how can we constantly chant? How will I get anything done? Krishna says, I am the intelligence of the intelligence. I am the source of memory and forgetfulness. So if you want to forget Krishna, then Krishna will help you to forget him. If you want to remember him and feel protected, then he will help you to remember him. Krishna is always saying, stop your running from me. Stop your running from me. Stand up on your own 2 feet. After you stop running from Krishna, you turn around, you get a glimpse, you fall down, you pay obeisance. It's the first thing. And then Krishna says, stand up. Don't fear anything. Turn your eyes to me. This is the worship of the deity. Bend your ears to him. This is the holy name. These are the songs by the acharyas. These are the songs by the devotees. This is kirtan. Bend your ears to him, and then, because your senses are engaged in the attention and the affection for Krishna's beautiful form, and his pastimes, his leela, his play with Radharani and the gopas, hasharas. That's I forgot to mention that whole nother level of the Sankirtan devotees being engaged in that world outside the Dham, just stepping right into the worst of the worst, so to speak. You had to have hasharash. You had to have a great sense of humor, and you had to have full confidence that your sadhana that you did in the morning, most importantly, at least for me, the chanting would protect you. You armored yourself with the holy name. When you chanted the holy name, it was like placing armor on before you went out there to approach people, because you had to really give up your false ego, at least for that time, in order to keep going. And some miraculous things happened, and miraculous things are happening now. And when Prabhupada came, one really studies what he accomplished in the short years that he had with us. It is all a miracle. So, skipping down a little bit, deity worship, left off there. Even in the absence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, awakens the transcendental nature of the devotee, our transcendental nature, who thus becomes increasingly attached to the Lord's lotus feet. The appearance of Krishna is the answer to all imaginative iconography of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Every embodied one imagines a form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead according to his mode of material nature. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord is the oldest person, therefore a section of religionists imagine that God must be very old. Now, it's not that we're supposed to denigrate those people who pray, "Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins as we have forgiven those who have sinned against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the mercy forever and ever. Amen." This is a beautiful prayer. This is what Christ told the Christians to pray to God. So we must first understand that it is Krishna's power and mercy and forgiveness that has gotten us into the association of the pure devotee. Otherwise, we would not have a chance unless we were forgiven. Krishna doesn't want anything to do with people who are just going to keep right on sinning, meaning sundara. Sinning comes from sundar, Hebrew, and it means to separate, to asunder, to cut asunder, away, cut off my relationship with Krishna. It's an act of volition, our will, our desire. We cut ourselves off. We turn back to him. He forgives us immediately. He sent his son, Christ, to forgive us. They say, "Our Father, who art in heaven." So we ask ourselves, how can I know, how can I depend? How can I be secure? How can I have faith? How can I be confident that Krishna will hear me? So let us ask ourselves, if any young soul, young daughter of a father comes to her father and says, "Pita, I don't know what to do about these friends at school. They're bullying me." Or, "Pita, I don't know how to handle this problem. I'm very troubled by this." Now, what loving father would not answer his daughter, who comes to him sincerely and asks him sincerely for help and advice? Not one father would give nothing for an answer. He may take some time to answer. He may answer just a little bit so that the child can come to realize these things from within. That is, not simply to listen and to repeat and to obey, but to say, maybe you ought to look at it this way, or maybe you ought to respond instead of reacting this way. And so if we understand that in this world of illusion and madness, that a father, even in Kali Yuga, would never deny giving his daughter help, advice, and shelter, then we must also understand that if we approach Krishna, especially when we are chanting, and we lay down these doubts before Krishna, He is going to answer us. We just need to do one thing, and that is to listen. We need to be still. This is very, we never say this in the movement. We say, do service, get going, working, do tapa, chant loud. No, be still. In the Bible, it says, be still and know that I am God. And that is, Prabhupada always said, is you have to understand is that Krishna is in his holy name. He is non-different. So if you're still yourself within, quell those thoughts, quell those doubts, set them aside, put them in a sack, drop the sack, lighten your load, take up the yoke of chanting his names, of calling out to Krishna. And Krishna will reveal all the answers that you need to continue on in your journey back to him. Back to the purport. Therefore, but in the Brahma Samhita, that is contradicted. Although he is the oldest of all living entities, he has his eternal form as a fresh youth. That's Navayovanam, forever young, forever 21, so to speak, right? I mean, who wants to go downhill? I don't. I'm downhill. I'm over the top here. I want to go back. The exact words used in this connection in the Srimad Bhagavatam is Vijnanam Agyana Vida Paramajanam. Vijnana means transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Personality. Vijnana is also experienced knowledge. This is very important. Pay attention. Pay attention to what you're paying attention to. If you catch yourself, notice what you notice. This is very important. If you want to make quick advancement, to thine own self be true. Like a writer, objectify your day, maybe even write a journal whereby you go over the things of the day that stand out. They will naturally come up because they're standing out. And don't write this journal for other devotees, what you might think they might think of you. And don't write this, to fall in line with transcendental literature. We're not writing transcendental literature here. We are simply introspecting. We are contemplating, who am I? Where am I in this stage? If it is a servant of Krishna that I want to be, if it is purified I want to become, if it is a loving nature towards Krishna and the devotees, and actually all living entities, if it is a more of a loving nature that I want to develop, have I done that today? Have I practiced that today? And what did I do that was contrary to that in behavior? What were my thoughts that led me to do those actions? So when we're introspective, when we're still, and we ask ourselves, we say, Krishna, please reveal to me the things that I need to know, and be silent. And you might hear a verse, and you might, and do that while you're reading Prabhupada's books, reading his purports. All the answers are in his books. When you read if you have a true question, this is one thing I know for sure, and I know devotees can be a witness in this. I don't even know what time it is, 7:36. If you have a serious question about yourself, or about another devotee, or about a particular practice, or about a particular pastime that is confusing, or about the fact that you have some doubts, have those questions. Don't suppress them, okay? Then read Prabhupada's books. Be vigilant. You have to gird yourself not only with the holy name, but Prabhupada always repeatedly said, read my books. Read just the Bhagavad Gita. You don't need, read it again and again and again, because it does reveal itself as your consciousness opens up, as you wipe the dust from the mirror due to the sincerity of your calling on the holy name. When you wipe that down, more you can see clearer. You can see clearer yourself, who you really are, and you can see Krishna in your life more so. And Krishna will answer you through Prabhupada's books, his Vani. Onto the purport. Transcendental knowledge has to be accepted by the descending process of disciplic succession. So you have two things. You can either just follow the disciplic succession. This is the way we do things. This is how we do it. Throw your hands in the air like you just don't care. Yes, everybody just wants to dance and have a good time. I remember a very advanced devotee took me aside one time because he knew who I was. And he said, listen, between you and me, Krishna, ready for this? I won't tell you who it is because I don't want it to take. He said, Krishna is a party animal, right? Krishna is a party animal. Krishna is just out to have a good time. Krishna wants you to have us to have a good time. And if you're not having a good time, I can't see the things, but please go back over them. The comments, I don't know why it's not showing. They come on and they go off. I'd love to see them. Krishna just wants us to have a good time. Prabhupada always said, no matter what we're doing, we're chanting, dancing, and feasting. And think about the material world. That's what everybody wants to do. We want to have good food and good times with good people. And it doesn't get any better than this. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said, when he was passing from this world, racked with great pain, it doesn't get any better than this. Chanting, dancing, and feasting. Of this, we should not have any doubt. This is all Prabhupada is asking of us. If you're not happy, then question what is it that you are seeing. Ask the question and pray to Krishna. Chant his name. Call out to Krishna like Draupadi. Like Draupadi. Hey Krishna, hey Govinda. She was being stripped by Dushashan, right? And she put up her hands and said, hey Krishna, hey Govinda. And Krishna gave her a never-ending sari, right? So every day, especially these days, we're like spinning Draupadis, right? In this, if you pay attention in the media, the mainstream media, what's going on, these wars and rumors of wars, as it says in the Bible, there will always be wars and rumors of wars, right? It's all the demons versus the demons. And we must keep ourselves devotees by engaging in this transcendental service, in this transcendental attention, in this transcendental affection, so we can see Krishna's transcendental form, his body. Brahma Samhita, Agyana Bidha means, back to the purport, that which can match all kinds of speculation. Prabhupada goes on to write later on in the purport, down a little bit. He always does this. He makes these emphatic statements that is enough. There is no doubt about it. Sri Krishna's form, Sri Krishna's flute, Krishna's color, everything is reality. There it is. That's the question. How do I make Krishna's world my reality? Well, get down to it. Go there. Go to the temple. Open the books. The artist, Prabhupada said, had done such a beautiful, wonderful service by painting such beautiful pictures of Krishna and Radharani and his Leela. Sit there and study it. If you don't understand it, just chant and stare. It's real. We just have to, well, let me read on. This reminds me of what Adi Purusha said, that we have to remember that Krishna is our one and only. If you make Krishna your one and only, Krishna will make you his one and only. So once again, I repeat, when you're calling out to the absolute, you better be absolutely sure you want the absolute to come at you absolutely. Okay? So pray to Krishna and get ready. There's pleasure and pain. The pain will be anartha nivritti. He's going to tear your anarthas away. You're hanging on to them. You're going to be like this. Some of it's going to be thorns, right? Anartha nivritti. That's the clearing stage. The wiping clean, it's not so sometimes delicate, the wiping clean. Oh, I get it, right? Those who are super intelligent, like a lot of the people who give classes, in fact, everybody else that gives classes, and those of us who are fools that have to learn by experience, that have to get a beat down. Some follow the line of disciplic succession. Some are disciplined successfully. All right. So some of us, discipline is disciple. So you're going to get it one way or the other. If you're heading towards Krishna, you can either take the easy road, the straight and narrow, and not deviate and chant your 16 rounds and follow the 4 regs, or you're going to say, well, I want to do it my way. And then you're going to go after the path and into the thorns. Krishna's going to come and grab you and pull you out of the thorns, and the thorns are going to go like that. Those thorns are all your material attachments that you developed while you were wrapped up in off the path. There is no doubt about it, Prabhupada said. Everything is a reality. Dear Lord, the purport, when you appear in the Demigod's Parade, when you appeared in your different incarnations, you take the form according to different situations. Lord Krishna, your name is, Lord Krishna is your name is because you are all attractive. You are called Shama Shundara because you're of transcendental beauty. Shima means blackish, yet they say you are more beautiful than thousands of cupids. So we have to understand, we know that this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. How can it not be? Those who are wise know that of the absolute, there is no cessation, and that which is illusion, Maya, comes and goes like a dream. All the world's a stage, and man in his time plays many parts. We are simply engaged in this sort of theater, which is ephemeral, out, brief candle, which is over with. So we have to see that there are certain qualities and attributes, beauty, strength, renunciation, wisdom, knowledge, wealth, or the possession of all things. We see that these qualities exist. Okay, let's just take one, my favorite, beauty. Okay, we see that beauty exists. We see that we become attracted. Relatively and absolutely, we become attracted to certain things. Lotus eyes, the perfect this and form of all different types. A flower petal, a lotus flower petal. Yes, and we see that these things exist, but all we have to do is extrapolate. Extrapolate. Okay, that means you just go further up the number line. If you have 1, 2, 3, that numbers go on forever. So you extrapolate, and you extrapolate exponentially, 10 to the 10th power, 10 to the 100th power. Well, if you go exponentially extrapolating beauty, you head towards the absolute. That's Krishna. That's Krishna. So there is a little bit of, you can use your intellect a little bit. If there's beauty here and it comes and goes and it fades, I'm beautiful today, but as I look in the mirror, the lines on my face coming clearer, the past is gone. Dream on. You just extrapolate exponentially and you understand that Krishna is the most beautiful, that God, the source, the summum bonum. That's what Brahma prayed to. He's the Adi Purush. He's the beginning and the end. He's the reservoir of all the things that we may possibly want. And that's how we make Krishna real in our life. And that's how we alleviate all our doubts in our life. Now I'm going to end it here because it's 7:47. There's so much more that I was supposed to cover. Just always remember that Krishna, to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So have faith, read the Gita, read the Bhagavatam. If you don't understand it, read it again and chant Hare Krishna. And always remember, if a child can ask a father, and the father will answer the child, and the father loves the child, even in this world, then don't you think that Krishna will answer your questions and love you even more? So I open this up for anybody else to reveal their own realizations in this matter. And thank you very much for listening to me ramble on. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Bhima Prabhu. Beautiful, very hope-giving, clear class. You went into rapping at one point, and everybody was appreciating. They told you did it better than NSYNC and better than Burning Man. You are a real Burning Man, burning with love for Krishna.
I'm burning up. Yeah, burning with material desire. Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my takeaway quickly. You said that we have to, keep quiet. Once we present it before the Lord, then we have to keep quiet and see what he has to say. So I like that point. You have to keep quiet and shut your mind down, shut your likes and dislikes down, keep quiet. And Krishna,
the mind,
like a loving
yeah.
father. Yeah.
When the mind goes on, you just say, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Yeah.
The mind is a thing unto itself and can make a heaven of hell and a hell of heaven. We know this to be true. Okay,
Yeah.
you're immersed in Krishna and you are downtown New York City and all the hullabaloo going on and stuff like that, but somehow you just want to make it to the temple to see the darshan and to go to a kirtan. Your mind is making a heaven of hell because you're walking through hell to get to heaven. And you can be at the temple and you can be worried about your financial situation. So you're going to lose your job. I've done this. Been there dancing during kirtan and wondering what was going on, with my competition. With my hands in the air.
Yeah.
All right. Hare Krishna. Anybody else? Please help me. Please, somebody say something.
Hare Krishna, Bhima.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. It's Andrea.
I can't see anybody else. How do
you know what?
this?
Let me take the spotlight off you. This might be because of that. I apologize.
Yeah. There we go. Hi. How do I do? I see everyone.
But my big takeaway from your class, there were so many, and I really loved. Just you were so engaged and you were so in the flow of it. But I really loved when you said, "Worship Radha and Krishna like a child with love, wonder, and humility," and that really resonated for me. I don't know, as you know, like one of my big services that I love to do is telling stories to children. I have a Krishna Kids YouTube channel where I tell puppet stories and I share crafts and songs. And you saying that, it just really resonates for me because I feel like that actually is when I connect most with Radha and Krishna, is when I'm with the children and seeing Radha and Krishna through their eyes. Like you said, like with that wonder, with that love and that humility and that simplicity, where, it's just the essence with them. There's not a great big philosophical thing. Like you could take this story that as adults, we break down into all these like philosophical details and we want to know. And with kids, they just want to know, did Krishna win against the bad guy? Does Krishna love me? What do we do? Oh, we chant the Maha Mantra? Great. And that's all they want to know. That they're good with that. So I love that. So thank you so much.
Yes. I mean, I remember as a kid in Maine, I grew up, every day was a miracle. I grew up around cows. We had cow farms, dairy farms surrounding us. And every day we would run out in the fields and get the bulls to chase us and ride the cows into swamps. We would get on their back and they would go into the swamps. And when I found out that God was a cowherd boy, I was like, I'm in. It was because everything about the movement was a return to this wonder, a return to this love, this effulgent day. The sun rises and every day is effulgent. Even within this material world, it's not good. our duty is to go to die and to go back. No, our duty is to live and go back home, back to Godhead in the here and now. A child, sees a miracle in everything until, college gets a hold of them and says, well, we've named that, so therefore it isn't a miracle. No, everything's a miracle, every leaf, every flower. And that's when we take these miracles and offer it back to the miracle worker, who is Krishna. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. Anybody else, please? Where's the chat? Can I read the chat?
Adipusha Prabhu is waving.
Is he waving? I can't see.
Like
Nobody.
a child, like an innocent child. Do you want to say something? You raise your hand.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
You can hear
Where
me?
is he? There he is. Hari Bol Prabhu.
Everything you said in the class was valid and powerful and true and accurate. But what we relish, everybody says this, is the intensity of your conviction. You have such a deep feeling behind the words that you're speaking. We were in this bodega, and there were these it's a bunch of Egyptian guys there, and they were fighting. They were yelling at each other in another language, Arabic or something, And I was thinking, wow, what are they fighting about? It must be politics. And they were getting more and more intense. I was thinking, it must be religion. And then they were screaming and yelling. One guy took off his hat and threw it on the ground. He was stepping on it, jumping on it. I was thinking, maybe somebody abused his daughter or something. What are they talking about? So I pulled one of them aside because the three of them were yelling and screaming. I said, what are they fighting about? He said, soccer! We're fighting about soccer, So I was thinking, the intensity was genuine and really cranked up. But, what comes across is the feeling that you have behind what you have to say. And we very much appreciate that. Thank you so much. All glories to Prabhupada.
Hari Bol. Thank you very much, Adi Purush. Adi Purush calls me every day, and he helps keep me steady. The reason why I have intensity is because I'm in great pain. I'm suffering like a dog. I'm also very, very happy, and I have to always be. Adi calls me every day and helps get me down bring me up to that transcendental realm. He reminds me with such simple things. Yesterday, he said to me, he goes, listen, Prabhu, you're not the doer. You'll get through this. He goes, there are millions and billions of cells in your body. Each one is complicated as a factory, each doing it without you being involved, taking care of your body. If Krishna is doing this, do you think he's not paying attention to your life, that he's not making work of your life, that he's not performing Leela with your life? If he's beating your heart, we don't sit there and massage our heart together to keep it beating. It does it of its own accord. We didn't make the oxygen we breathe. Krishna provided that. We're not making photosynthesis happen. Krishna is providing that. So we have to have faith that Krishna is providing the means by which to regain his presence, his transcendental presence, and to regain his loving service, and to regain his loving embrace. And we just have to have faith. And we can have that faith even just looking at the interworkings of our body, our yantra, this machine. So thank you very much, Adi Purush, for everything that you do for everyone. Hare Krishna. Anybody else? We got 4 minutes left. How do you see chat? Security, chat. There it is.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much. This was such a beautiful class. I came a few minutes left, but I feel like I heard all of the nectar that you had to share. And what really stayed with me was what you were saying about a father would never not give a response to a sincere question. And he would never not give help, advice, and shelter. And I really appreciated that, because this is such this relationship of unconditional love. It's our birthright. And yet in this world, it seems so rare, so hard to believe that someone would love us that way. And so I really appreciated the reminder that we can go to him and he will give us those things just because he loves us. No other, I don't need to be different, be better. It's not about deserving or not, it's mercy. And
right.
Yeah, and I also appreciated the intensity of your service will be the intensity of Krishna's presence in your life, this reciprocity. What we give him, he gives back to us. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, he gives us 1,000-fold. He actually gives a lot more than what we give him. Actually, we give him nothing. I remember one time I was coming home, and I had, this was many, many years ago, I was on a plane, and the thought came into my head how wonderful the service, how much money I had raised for New Vrindavan. And I was not a long thought of it. I was very young at that time, and but it was a thought enough. It was definitely a burst of pride of, you know, what I had done, so-called done, me. And I was falling asleep, and I do not have divine dreams, so to speak, but I had a little vision, you know, in and out of sleep, that I saw Vishnu, and he had his hand out like this, and he like this. It was just you know how you have those crazy thoughts, and I had this image, and it was Vishnu, and he went like this, and then he turned his hand over and went like that, and all this like dust came out. So we really never give Krishna anything.
That was Bhima Prabhu's false ego.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Well, that was everything I had done. It's simply dust in the wind, as the song says. We should never be proud of what we do, because number one, we're not the doer. Remember what Adi said about the cells in our body. We're not even in control of those. That's number one. And number two, everything we do is simply giving back what we have wrongfully taken from the beginning. We're not true renunciants. We are only giving back with our head down and with contrition that which we have taken wrongfully in the past. So the only thing that we can give Krishna is our time and our attention. This is it. This is what we can really give Krishna. That if we just pay attention, Krishna and Prabhupada has made it so simple. Simply call upon the name of the Lord and thou shalt be saved. This is very important.
Great, yeah. You're not the doer. You're not the enjoyer. You're not the sufferer. It's all good.
Surferer. As Prabhupada said, that when he saw some surfers, things like that, sufferers and surferers. Yeah. We are surfing every day. We get up and surf the modes. The modes come in like waves, and we have to surf them. We have to stay above. We have to hang 10 rounds at least. Hang 10 rounds. Hang 16 rounds, and you're in. Anyone else?
Angelica.
Yes. Hare Krishna, thank you so much for this class. It was
Hare Krishna.
I wrote so many notes and so many reflections. So beautiful. I feel like I still want to reflect the first point, which really stuck with me when we were sharing about how we should be aware of and vigilant of not becoming slack in our progression or attempts on the bhakti practice, and how you were sharing about four regulative principles and gambling, how we can actually gamble away our time with the Lord, and also feel or hope that we will spring back into Krishna consciousness in time. Something bad happened, but actually at every single time something really tragic can happen to us and just like rip us away out of our bodies. And I also was thinking about how in my personal life, what helps me is actually think about four regulative principles beyond them and just connect with the four legs of Dharma that they actually stand on, which is the austerity, truthfulness, cleanliness, and compassion. And in this way, I may be following the principles externally, but if I really dig deep into those principles, then I'm surely failing every single day, because I could be doing so much better. To be more compassionate, or to be more truthful, and all these things. So that was a very strong point and a very important instruction for me as I'm attempting to work on it more and more every day. So thank you so much for that, and for your really beautiful, sincere heart, and yes, your intensity of conviction in sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you very much, Mataji. I hear you are taking first and second soon.
No,
Is that you?
I
No.
mean, it was spoken about me, but it was a suggestion that the services I'm doing can line up with that. But it's
Yes, you should also take sannyas at the same time. You should just go ahead, just go for it.
Yeah. Well, it's all up to my Guru Maharaj's mercy, and I don't
That
have
and he is, who is that? Who is your Guru Maharaj?
Radhanath Swami.
Wonderful,
But
wonderful. Yes, what you said is so true. We must accentuate the positive. There's anatta nivritti, but anatta nivritti happens like we have this material life, which is a cup of ink, bitter ink, poisonous ink. It's like the poison that Shiva took from the ocean. And then you have the nectar, the milk ocean. You have the nectar that the devotees, that Srila Prabhupada, that Krishna is offering. And if you just pour out the cup, you have nothing to drink. That's the nectar. That's sort of like, follow 4 regulative principles, obey. But there's an easier process. Just engage in service, engage in chanting, engage in feasting, prasad, very important for the body. Engage in dancing. That dancing could be any type of service that you're doing it. Do it in joy. You pour that milk in. Eventually, the milk is forever. The milk just goes on forever, by the way. And you pour it into that cup, and the ink eventually just goes out of the cup, and pretty soon you have clear milk. So you are 100% right. Accentuate the positive, and the negative will disappear. Prabhupada said, this world, our material attachments will become like a pale, dead thing. So if we want to make, as in the beginning of this lecture and the questions that we have asked from the past, and what we all are seeking is to make Krishna's world, Krishna's wonderful world of Leela, that, remember, Krishna is a child having fun. So we must also become like children. And if we want to engage in that world of running through the pastures and the fields and Rajadam with Krishna, even within this life, then we must, full of joy, engage in chanting, dancing, and feasting. And we will find that the material world will fade away, fade out, like in a movie, fade out, and then zoom in. And all of a sudden, you're face to face with Krishna, and he's welcoming you home. So that was a wonderful point. Are we there yet? Are we at the end?
Beautiful, beautiful, Bhima Prabhu. Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Bhima Prabhu ki jai. Radhanath Maharaj ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shishi Radha Muralidhar Shri Gaurachandra ki jai. Everybody on this call ki jai. Don't be a pale, dead thing. Be a child of Krishna. Keep going with your service. Keep quiet. Krishna.
Don't be a zombie. Don't be a zombie.
That pale, dead zombie. Okay. Hare Krishna.